Now let us discuss about multiple inheritance. The second type of inheritance is multiple inheritance, right? So in the single inheritance, what we have discussed is it will be having single base class and single derived class, right? So if it is multiple inheritance, it has two base class and one derived class, right? So we all know that these two A and B are the base classes, right? So these are the base class and this C is the derived class, right? So a class inherits the attributes of two or more class is known as multiple inheritance. So just remember, another type of inheritance we have called multi-level inheritance also. Okay, so don't get confused. If you see the word multiple, the meaning is multiple base classes, right? So you have to remember in that way. Okay, so multiple inheritance, which means multiple base class. Okay, so if a new class has been derived from two or more class, then it will be called as multiple inheritance. So what is the syntax for multiple inheritance? So class base 1 and then class base 2, right? Then when we are going to derive a class, class derived colon visibility mode and then base class 1 and visibility mode and then base class 2, right? So here we are going to separate these two classes using a comma. Okay, so just remember all this syntax. If you know the syntax, then easily you can develop own program. Okay, so if it is multiple inheritance, it will be, as the name says, it will have two base class. A new class will be derived from the by keeping the attributes of two or more classes. Okay, so then such type of inheritance will be called as multiple inheritance. So in the syntax, how we are going to derive a class? Class derived colon visibility mode base 1 comma visibility mode base 2, right? So let us see the example program. So then we can have the clarity. So for multiple inheritance, here I have taken one example program where I am going to create two classes called hardware and software. Okay, so two classes I am going to create, hardware and software, and I am going to derive a new class. That new class will be the computer configuration. Okay, so the meaning is just I am going to get the hardware configuration and software configuration. Those details will be maintained by two classes, and a new class I am going to derive from these two classes, which will be showing me the entire computer configuration, right? So that is the task for this particular program. Okay, so here the first base class is hardware. Okay, it is the base class 1. Base class 1, right? So under this hardware class, I have declared two variables, right? So one variable is monitor and the another variable is processor, right? So these are the two variables, and these two variables are declared under which mode? Under protected mode. So what is the meaning if I declare it under protected mode? So it is not like public, right? So these two variables can be accessed only by its immediate subclass. Okay, so other classes could not use the value of these two variables, right? And then I have declared another member function called getData under public mode. So here itself I am defining the getData member function. So under getData member function, I am entering the monitor name and the processor speed, right? So I am getting the monitor name and the processor speed. Next, I have another member function called display, where I am going to display the monitor and processor speed. So these are the class declaration part of hardware class, right? So next, I have another class called software. Okay, so base class 2. Base class 2 is software. So under this, I have declared two variables. One is what is the operating system name and then how many bytes. Okay, so these two are declared under protected mode. And then under public mode, I have created another function called getData1. Okay, so getData1 member function has been created, and then display1 member function was created, right? So here this class hardware and class software are two different classes. Okay, so here these two classes does not have any relationship. Okay, so if we are creating two different classes, if it does not have any relationship, then what we can do, from the main function we can create an object for hardware class and an object for software class, and we can try to access the data members, right? So you can ask me, here we have a member function called get data and then display, right? So inside the software class also we can create the same member function called get data and display, right? So we won't have any problem if we create a same member function name. But what will happen if we go for inheritance concept, with the help of the derived class we can try to access the base class members. So at that time we will have the confusion that which particular member function we are calling now, right? So the derived class object itself has rights to access the base class members. So if two different member functions are having the same class, then there we will have confusion. So to avoid that, in this inheritance concept we are going for different member functions, right? Different member function names. Okay, so here we are displaying the OS and bytes, and then uh, after getting we are displaying the values, right? So these are the two different base classes, and then now we need to derive the new class, right? So the new class name is computer, and it should be separated by colon, and under public mode the hardware class has been derived, and under public mode the software class has been derived, right? So public base class 1, public base class 2. Is it clear, right? So now for this particular class we don't have any variable, directly we are going for the member function, right? So we have only one member function called computer configuration. So under this we are calling the two member functions, display and display one, display from hardware class and display one from software class. So these two member functions are called from the derived class, right? So from the main program, for which class I have created the object, for the derived class I have created the object, right? So computer is the derived class, the object name is C. So using this particular object I am getting the data, C dot get data, C dot get data 1, right? Then in C out I am displaying the output. Okay, so the computer details again I am calling C dot computer config member function. Is it clear? So you just see here, C dot get data and C dot get data 1. This get data is a member function of hardware class, and get data 1 is the member function of the software class. So if I call these two member functions, then these two values will be obtained from the user. So once the values are obtained, then we are going for computer config. So if I invoke this computer config member function, inside this we are calling display and display 1 member function. Then automatically these two functions will be invoked, right? So all the member functions will be accessed. Okay, so now let us see the example program for this multiple inheritance. Okay, so multiple inheritance, as the name says, it will have multiple base class and one derived class, right? So the base classes are hardware. So the same program which I have shown you in PPT, right? So we have hardware class and then we have software class. So and finally what we have a computer is the final derived class, right? So class hardware, class software, from both the classes we are going to derive a new class. That new class is the computer. So the syntax for multiple inheritance is this line only, right? So you have to remember this line. This particular line is more important. So it should be separated by colon, and for both the classes we need to specify the visibility mode, right? So for hardware the visibility mode is public hardware and then public software. Okay, and from the main program we are accessing the get data of both the classes, base classes, right? So now let us execute this program. So enter the monitor name, it is Dell. Okay, and processor speed is let me just give 512. Okay, and OS name Windows. Okay, and the number of bytes, let me go for 64. Okay, so for sample I have given these details, right? So just see here, we have declared it under protected mode, right? So what will happen if I declare it under private mode? This monitor and processor, anyway the get data member function will be the public mode of access specifier, right? Okay, let us change it to private. Okay, and let me try to execute. Okay, it doesn't show any error. Why? So we have two variables of private mode, but where we are using these two variables, we are using these two variables under get data member function, right? So this get data is a public member, and what will happen when we are accessing, when we are trying to access it, we are calling it from the um, public member, right? Through the public member of the derived class, with the derived class object, we are calling the public members of the base class. So we are not getting any issue with this, right? So it may be private or protected also. Okay, and here also we can change it to private mode. Okay, so why? Because these two variables again we are using under the public member. Okay, and display member function is also a public member. Okay, then let us, okay, so let us declare this display one member function under protected mode. Okay, and let us check what happens. Why? Because this display one was called through the public members of the derived class, right? So it is trying to call it. Okay, let us execute. Okay, we are not getting any problem. Why? Because the protected members of the base class will become the protected members of the derived class. In which condition? When the particular class has been derived under the public mode, right? So this display member function, display one member function, belongs to software class. So in the derived class, when we are deriving it, the software class has been derived under the public mode, right? So when we are deriving it under public mode, what happens? All the protected members of the base class will become protected members of the derived class. So no problem anyway, right? So after, for further extension only, we will have problem with this. Okay, until then we won't have any problem with this, right? Okay, then for execution purpose, let me show you one error example. Okay, so here let us try to derive the hardware class under private mode. Okay, then what will happen? All the public members of the base class will become private members of the derived class, right? So when it becomes the private members of the derived class, when you create the object for the derived class, even from the main program we cannot access this get data member function. Okay, so only this get data member function cannot be accessed. Okay, so let me show you the difference. So here I have changed it to private. Okay, so what it is showing, hardware get data is not accessible. Okay, so the get data member function cannot be accessed. So instead of that, what we can do, maybe we can go here. Okay, so here we can create one more member function, void get, right? So inside this, what we can do, we can call that get data member function. Okay, so like this we can give, and then for this particular member function, this we can call from the main program. Okay, so now what changes I made here? See, I have derived the hardware class under private mode. Okay, so under private mode I have derived the hardware class. So what happens? All the public members of the base class will become private members of the derived class. So the meaning is, you have to imagine that whatever class members we have for hardware and software class, both the class members have been declared under the class declaration part of this derived class. Okay, so like that you have to imagine. Okay, so here since we have access for the get data member function through the public members of this derived class, we have access, right? So we can access it through the get data, sorry, through the get member function. Okay, so if we access it with the get member function, then the data can be displayed here, right? So now let us execute this. Okay, now we are not getting any error, so let me execute. So the monitor name is HP and the processor speed is 512 kbps, let us give, and OS name is Windows, number of bytes. Okay, is it clear up to this? Right, so like this the same program you can show lot of variation. Only thing how we are going the which one is playing a major role is under which mode we are declaring the variables and the member functions, and with which visibility mode we are deriving the particular classes. So there only we are having the difference, right? So if you know all these things, then the program can be written in any pattern, right? So the same program can be written in different patterns.